Welcome back, everybody, to my James Bond series. Today we're going to be talking about the fourth James Bond film, Thunderball. Hey everybody, my name is Justin. I love to watch movies. If you guys love to watch movies too and James Bond, you guys are in the right spot. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and click that bell notification for more up and coming videos. Today we're going to talk about the fourth James Bond film, Thunderball, that is once again directed by Terrence Young. This is the third film that he's directed in the James Bond series. I will be reviewing every single James Bond movie up until No Time to Die next April. I previously reviewed Dr. No, From Russia with Love, and Goldfinger, and now we are on the fourth Sean Connery film, Thunderball. James Bond heads to the Bahamas to recover two nuclear warheads stolen by Spectre agent Emilio Largo in an international extortion scheme. This is once again directed by Terrence Young, who directed Dr. No and From Russia with Love. He did not direct Goldfinger. He's returning to the director's chair for Thunderball, and immediately within the first few minutes of Thunderball, I have the sense that this is a different James Bond film. The tone is just much darker. The color palette for this film is much darker. And it looks similar to From Russia with Love compared to Dr. No and Goldfinger. But after that success of Goldfinger, they wanted to make James Bond even bigger. So they upped the budget for Thunderball. And I think that kind of hurt them a little bit. Thunderball is an entertaining James Bond film. It's not a bad James Bond film. I do remember watching a lot of it growing up, and some of the underwater sequences, I thought they were so cool. But with having such a larger budget, I think that they wanted to do a little more, and it just did not work. This movie does offer a lot of underwater sequences, a lot. And at times, it never really furthers the plot, and it seems like it's just there to have something a little bit different from the other movies, and it tries to stand out. There's a sequence at the end where everybody's just kind of underneath water and there's like fighting, and you can't tell who's on whose side. It's just kind of jarring to see all these people underneath water trying to kill each other, and it never really works because you're just kind of wondering, all right, who's this person? Who's this person? While I do think it's a little bit different to have it underneath water, it does unfortunately become a little bit repetitive. And this is a shame because this is arguably one of Sean Connery's best performances as James Bond. He's still very confident. Throughout the film, he's getting hurt a lot and he's not afraid to get hurt. He's definitely very fit for the role, but I also did feel like there wasn't a lot of James Bond in this movie. This is an over 2-hour film, and I felt at times there wasn't enough of Sean Connery in the movie. This movie does have a good supporting cast. We have Emilio Largo in the film. He is the number 2 for Spectre, and we do get a visually iconic James Bond villain with the eye patch. But as the movie progresses, I think he becomes less menacing. Early on, I think that he was a really menacing character. He was part of a very, I guess nowadays, very generic villainous plot. There was going to be atomic weapons that were going to destroy major cities worldwide, where the previous film, Dr. No, where the previous films like Goldfinger were much smaller. This was a film that was, at the time, really different. But nowadays, it's a really used plot. And that moving forward made the plot less disastrous and less important. This film isn't as goofy as further James Bond movies. Moving forward with the franchise, Roger Moore's movies became, a little bit silly. There's moments in here where you felt like the franchise is starting to get a little bit silly. I mean, there's always certain moments in every James Bond film that seems to be silly, but this film had a lot of darker tones going for it and felt really grounded compared to other James Bond films. But I'm not going to lie that there was a few times where I was like, oh, this is a little bit silly, especially in the beginning where he had the jetpack. And it's, something that they were trying to do a little bit different. But I'm not going to lie and say that it wasn't silly, because it was. I remember seeing it when I was younger and always sticking in my head that he's in a jetpack. That's odd. So you could tell that they're kind of moving forward a little bit to these more silly moments. And once we get to the Roger Moore films, we're going to talk about how silly those films are. I was disappointed with how they used their budget in the movie. Like I said, this is an entertaining James Bond film. I do enjoy it, but I think that they try to do a little too much with this budget, made it a lot bigger than Goldfinger. And that's a lot of companies' goals, is that when you have a film that's really successful, you want to just throw money at it and make the next film even bigger. We see it a lot in Hollywood nowadays, that let's just add a lot more money to it and make it even bigger. And that's what Thunderball tried to do, and I could see where they were going with it. But unfortunately, some of these bigger action sequences, although filmed nicely, did feel a little bit repetitive and really didn't do much to further the plot. Most of those underwater sequences, and I could understand why they would want to have some to kind of make Thunderball stand out from the previous 3 films, but it just did not work. So before I give you my final thoughts and score on Thunderball, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and click that bell notification for more up and coming James Bond videos. Every Tuesday, I will be uploading a James Bond review for you guys leading up to No Time to Die. And once No Time to Die comes out, I'll be ranking the James Bond movies, ranking the actors, also ranking the opening sequences. I got a lot of fun videos planned for you guys around James Bond when No Time to Die comes out. You guys, we're almost at 6,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for all the support throughout the years. It truly means a lot to me. So, Thunderball, I do remember watching a lot of it growing up. It was one that I rented a lot from the library. And I do think that Sean Connery is absolutely amazing in this movie, although I felt like his screen time wasn't as long as other movies. And he just was so confident in this role, not afraid to get hurt. Emilio Largo visually looks like an iconic James Bond villain, but unfortunately becomes less menacing as the movie goes along. And the overuse of the budget and the repetitive sequences throughout made this for an entertaining James Bond film, but also at times a disappointing James Bond film. But I still like it. It's James Bond. I love every single James Bond movie in a different way. And Thunderball is still a good film, but if certain things were tweaked, it'd be a little bit better. Now, I know that there were some copyright issues, and eventually there was a remake for this film that is not part of the official James Bond movies, which is Never Say Never Again. I may review that. I don't know. I've only seen it a couple times. It's not part of the official James Bond movies. But if you would like to see a review for that, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm going to go ahead and give Thunderball a B. Thank you guys for checking my review for Thunderball. My next review will be coming out Tuesday, and that is You Only Live Twice. My name is JustinWatchesMovies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.